We have Wendy Barron, CIO at the Texas DMV. Wendy, welcome to TechTables.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm super excited. And before we jump into today's podcast episode, it's sponsored by the Nagarro Public Sector. Nagarro Public Sector excels at helping senior technology leaders in digital disruption, from cloud to AI to big data and digital product engineering to system integration work across platforms. To learn more about Nagarro, check out nagarro.com. All right, let's kick off our podcast episode with technology modernization. This is a topic that I love. I had a great podcast episode with Dan Texar, who's the CIO at the Office of the Texas Secretary of State's office. And selfish plug, that's on episode 70, from legacy analog to digital first, transforming the RFI, RFO process. I feel like the Texas DMV is at a similar inflection point with its technology modernization game plan that we're talking about. And so, Wendy, I was curious, you maybe just walk us through where you see the Texas DMV, where it's at today, and where you see it going in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. So currently we provide services to everybody that owns a vehicle in Texas, and we partner with the tax assessor collectors in each of the counties, and they actually provide services on behalf of the DMV to county citizens to register their vehicles and title their vehicles. And we're doing that with a system that's almost 30 years old. And while it is not on a mainframe, it still very much acts like it is on a mainframe. We had a project to lift and shift that system, the registration and titling system, or RTS for short, to lift and shift that system about 7 years ago. And we got it off the mainframe, but the logic and all of the things from architecture standpoint, still very much mainframe-esque. And so we've got batch processing. Data is really not real time, and it requires network connectivity and workstations and whatnot that we provide to the counties. And all of that to say is really not how modern technology is done. Things are cloud-based. Folks are able to, modern systems, folks are able to bring their own device and access from anywhere. And that's really not the system we have. And with that 30-year-old system, it also creates challenges and complications with just trying to keep up with the times and keep up with the changes that happen with state law, with growth in population. There's always some kind of change or modification that happens every session. And so keeping up with that and adapting and adjusting is just getting more and more challenging with a 30-year-old system. It's not agile. We can't be as responsive as quickly as possible, as quickly as we would like to be. And so that presents our challenges. And so we've had some issues. We've had some times when we've had some outages with the system, which meant that the county tax assessors couldn't provide the services to our customers. And in looking at that and looking at the aging system, we've recognized that it needs to be replaced. It needs to be upgraded. And the DMV in the next several years is embarking on a journey to modernize the RTS system. We're looking to really revamp and re-arc the entire environment, not just RTS, but the auxiliary systems that lay on top of it. And so next session, we're looking to request some funding from the legislature to put our plan together. And we recognize that this is a large system that serves millions of people and has millions of records in it for all the vehicles that are in the state. And it's not going to be a small task. And so we want to make sure that, one, we put a very solid plan together, do market analysis, just do all the preparation work that needs to happen when you embark on this kind of upgrade, and then execute that plan. My goal with this project is to look at a solution or solutions that leverage possibly COT software, low code, no code. There's 49 other states that do registration and titling. I got to think that somebody else has done something to modernize their systems. And so we want to look outward and talk to other states and find out what's out there and what's available, and then find the best solution for the DMV and move that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always chuckle to myself when I hear 30-year-old system because I'm only 33. So when the system is almost as old as I am. Yeah. So you had mentioned, there's actually some really great stuff in here. So you had mentioned there's some issues and challenges, which I actually think is a good thing, because eventually it means you can come to a solution. And if you can't recognize the issues or challenges in anything, you can't get to a solution. Maybe if you could just highlight what solutions are you, not necessarily have to be a technical solution. You've seen the challenges, you've been at the DMV. What are maybe some specific solutions that you're looking at that you want to deploy right now in order to really execute the game?
Yeah, we are looking at a number of different things. One of the things that we're doing is actually looking internally at the current system and making sure that we've addressed any currency issues or implemented. There are some tools available now for these older type systems that allow you to be a little more flexible. So getting and a little more agile. So getting stood up to where maybe we can use some of those automation tools, getting a handle on our data governance, our data management. I think that's going to be really critical. Data, one of the things in my experience, whenever you embark on a journey to upgrade a system, data is a very critical component to that. And a lot of times it's forgotten. And so making sure that we're in a good space with our data and we've got it classified and taken that inventory and really prepping the system and what we have to make sure that we're as good as we can be. We're also looking for opportunities to modernize and move things forward outside of the RTS system. And a good example of that is the partnership that we've made with DIR on the Texas by Texas application. And that application is a great innovative idea. It's a one-stop shop for the constituents of Texas. And the idea is that you'll have one application, one logon, and you can access all your government services, whether it's to renew your vehicle registration or to renew your driver's license, which is DPS, not DMV in Texas. Just want to point that out. But and as more and more agencies join, there'll be more and more features available. But we joined that initiative as an early tenant agency, and we now have a mobile app in Texas for vehicle registration and renewal, which is something that where we are internally is we just wouldn't have been able to get there without partnering with the Department of Information Resources and their vendor Deloitte and entering into this agreement and joining into this application. And it's been a great thing for the agency. We're really excited about it. I just renewed my vehicles last month and it was just super easy, very convenient, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and every month we've got more and more users and things like that. We are really trying to limit the new things in RTS because we are ultimately going to do away with the system. The investments that we make, we're really trying to be very conscious and deliberate about what we do and not be wasteful in investing a lot in an old system that we're going to be decommissioning in a few years. And so taking advantage of other opportunities like the Texas by Texas initiative or things that we're doing to still try to keep moving the ball forward for the DMV, but also make sure that we're not maybe wasting taxpayers' money on a system that's going to be decommissioned in a few years.
Yeah, that's great. The data governance piece, I think, really stands out. I'm sure you've had many conversations with my guy, Ed Kelly. Episode 75, he was on TechTables also. We talked about the evolving role of the chief data officer. I know, Ed is fantastic. He is a hoot.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a fun story. He was at NASTD, the National Association of Technology Director. I always get these confused, but anyways, short story is we went out in New Orleans and down Bourbon Street, and it was fantastic. We had a great time with a number of other folks. And if you ever walk down Bourbon Street, you might find a snake and a band of people singing and a lot of really fun stuff. So, yeah, it was a fun time. He's a really smart guy. So always love hearing from him. The interesting thing you said, you're going to request funding for all of these projects from the legislative body. And you had mentioned market analysis. Now, I think this would be pretty funny is I would sit down with all of those folks because if they're like giving you a hard time about not giving you money, you should have them go through the system and the market analysis is, oh, you want me to fix this? Okay, here's how much it's going to cost. And I bet you could get a lot of money because any citizen that logs on to the DMV, Like the DMV, I feel really bad because you're like, it's nothing that you want to have to do. Like this is really funny. I got my California DMV notice right here. I'm like, gotta get my car smogged. I gotta pay registration. It's like nothing. It's not going to Disneyland. So the easier you can make that, I bet you could find a lot of money in the state of Texas because if I'm sure they got to renew their vehicles too. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, we
something that stood out. And if you need me to test it, I'll test out anything new. I'll give you feedback.
awesome. Good deal. Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely got support from our tax assessor collector partners. They had their annual conference a couple of weeks ago, and Daniel Avidia, our executive director, he did an introduction and had a few speaking points for the agency, and mentioned that we were looking to replace RTS, and it was a standing ovation from all our tax assessor collectors because they know what that system is and how painful it is, and so they were very much behind us on replacing it and are exciting. And it's going to be a journey with them as well. This is not the DMV replacing the registration titling system. This is a partnership with the tax assessor collectors. We're going to partner with them. They are our customers. They're the face of the DMV. And so they provide those services on our behalf. And so they're a cool partner. And as we move forward with this project, we definitely will be engaging and involving them. They've got a leadership group that we meet with monthly, and we've been talking to them about it. And I imagine as we move forward, we will probably have some focus groups and things, and definitely going to be engaging and involving them as we move this forward.
I want to show up at the focus group. I got to get into the focus group. I'd love to be there. I'd answer all the questions. I will represent the millennials. I will represent the middle of the pack millennials demographic.
There you go.
So there's a lot of information in the DMV, from driver's license numbers to VINs to You guys have digital license plates, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yes,
could you maybe just expand upon? Yeah, could you expand upon how the data cloud will power the Texas technology modernization at the DMV to improve the citizen experiences for years to come?
Yeah, I think this entire modernization effort is really I think it's going to be transformative, and leveraging cloud technologies, venturing on the partnership with Texas by Texas, being part of Texas's data center services group, and that private cloud that we've got set up. I think as we modernize, we're going to be able to leverage newer and better technologies. I think being a part and being one of the front runners on Texas by Texas as we move forward with this project, I think there's opportunities for us to collaborate with DIR and think out of the box on how state government manages data and data sharing. One of the things that DIR has set up and established is they've got public and private data portal. And so agencies in the open data portal publish data sets that provide the classified as what we call high value data sets. So these data sets are meaningful for the citizens, responsive to public information requests, basically creating a space in an area, again, one-stop shop for the citizens of Texas to access data from multiple different state agencies in one location. And so as we transform our data and modernize, because right now, admittedly, our data sets are that old mainframe logic. Much of it's not relational. Which makes it challenging for data sharing. And this transformation is going to really help us just go to that next level in terms of sharing data and being more responsive to the citizens of Texas. And also touch on the closed data portal. We are actually one of the first agencies that is leveraging DIR's closed data portal, and we're doing that for our law enforcement partner to provide them a secure way to access data related to vehicle tags and potential fraud with the paper tags. And there's been some issues and some challenges in the last year that we've been addressing around paper tag fraud. And we've made a lot of positive changes, and we've managed to really shut the bad actors down. and also open up those lines of communication with our law enforcement partners and provide opportunities and ways for them to access data without having to submit a request every time they need data. We vet the partners, they get set up in the portal, and then they have that access to that data when they need it. And it's in a secure format, a secure methodology. And we're even now thinking about what are other ways that we can share data through this closed data portal to our other partners that we might have. And so it's very exciting, the opportunities around data sharing and the cloud, and modernization of our systems is just going to help us do so much more.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really great use cases. I actually this use case of data sharing with the police officers. Now, I haven't been pulled over. It's been a couple years, but admittedly, I have been pulled over, guilty, as charged. It will happen. California is a huge state, so when you drive from one part of the state to the northern part, probability you're going to get pulled over, it just increases a lot. Don't drive fast through King City. There's a guy on the corner just hiding. But I had pulled out my insurance card and my driver's license. Now, you can have the insurance card digitally, and it isn't a piece of paper. And I actually had snapped a photo of it and did one of those like third-party apps on the iPhone, but if they have your driver's license in your iPhone. And the police officers know, like, I need the physical paper version. And I'm like, at some point, this is going to go away. And did I tell you I host a technology podcast? And this guy, I think, is like laughing at me or something. But the concept being like, when you can share that information, okay, the guy has a valid driver's license. A piece of plastic isn't going to validate or invalidate him. The fact that I am a legal driver. Same thing with like your insurance. Like, if the cops are pulling you over, it should just be pretty streamlined, so they don't have to have this giant headache and they're going back to their car. And
same thing for registration.
The cloud is fantastic for that, and for registration.
Yeah,
that's great. So all that modernization is going to be great because it's going to take a lot of headache out for both the citizen and the police officer when they're checking out everything. I love the data sharing piece on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, speaking of modernizations, our digital license plate initiative. I mean, that how cool is that? It is a license plate. Cool. It's essentially a tablet, but you can think of like an iPad sized tablet. And now obviously it's a little more sturdy, robust to be able to be put on the back of a vehicle, but it can send messages to law enforcement, and law enforcement can interact with that license plate. And for example, if that vehicle gets stolen, you can flip it to where that license plate will flash that this vehicle is stolen. And I just think that's just really great.
That's awesome.
And technologies like that, it's really exciting, the innovations and things coming out just around transforming the physical to the digital.
Yeah, I was actually just Googling on my other screen because I was curious if California had rolled this out. They have rolled out that I don't think I've ever seen it in California, but yeah, they've rolled it out. I think that's a big one. Is one time my car got smashed at San Francisco. It's always San Francisco, in a garage, and everything got stolen out of it. And I was like, I'm never driving to San Francisco again. But the reason they couldn't jack my car is because I drove a manual car. So that's old school. I know. You could see they were trying to like mess around and get it going, and I was like laughing. So when I came back, I'm like, well, they didn't take my Mazda. So on our intro call, you had mentioned that you had instituted a moratorium on new functionality, which I think is great just for the legacy system that's set up. I actually have a moratorium on our household budget with inflation right now in California. Could you maybe just tell us why, like specifically why you wanted to institute the moratorium? Was it the technical debt that was stacking up? Was it just customization overload? Or is it just can't implement any new features because the architecture is just too old? What was like if you had to pick one reason, what was that like one reason for you of why you had to institute the moratorium on new function?
The technical debt. That was really the big.
The technical debt.
We needed to catch up. We needed to get out of the debt. And then also I mentioned not wasting the taxpayers' money. We know we're going to be modernizing this system in a few years, and just really being cognizant about that and not investing in a dying system. And many of the things that were being considered were maybe pretty significant projects in this current system, but something that could probably be implemented fairly easy as we transition into the new system. And we could make that a requirement of the new system. And so it was really the big driving factor was the technical debt and just getting in front of that. But then also really being conscientious of how we're allocating the dollars and making sure that the investments count and that the money that we're spending we're going to get that return on the investment. And we took a hard look at some of the things that we were doing, and we did decide to not move forward with some projects. We were canceling a project, and our plan for the next biennium does not include any new RTS projects or any new projects per se in terms of adding a new feature or fun. It's really about getting the system ready and making sure that we're up to date, we're getting ourselves out of that technical debt, and just getting ourselves prepared for the upgrade. And there were some tough conversations. I know there's some of these projects that we really wanted to do, and in the long run, I think they're really good things, but just not right now. And so having that conversation of it's not a no, it's just a not right now. And so I think that was key into helping convince leadership and our business partners of it's not that we don't want to do this. We want to support you guys. We want these features, but is the timing right for this? And so having that conversation and working to help with that understanding. And there was recognition that, okay, yeah, the timing is not right. This is not the right time. And then just focusing those dollars on what would help us get further down the road to our end goal of replacing the RTS system.
Yeah, I know, that's great. And one of the things that actually we were talking about, one of the challenges, obviously there's the technical debt and the technical side, but also there's the hiring and staffing piece. Love to hear right now, what are you seeing? And then after you see that, what if you had a magic wand, what would you do to resolve all those challenges if you could do it? So let's start with the challenges, then you can take out the magic wand and let's see.
Okay. Yeah, so it's really tough to fill my positions, especially my developer positions. I think having a 30-year-old system doesn't help. I've got older technology, and it's just not exciting. And it's not something that's going to help somebody build their career and learn and grow. So that's tough. The good thing is we're starting this journey to modernize. And the flip side of that is I think there's lots of potential here for somebody to learn and grow now that we've made the decision to move forward with the modernization project. There's so much growth opportunity coming. And so that's really exciting. But it has been challenging filling those positions. Being in Austin, it's considered the technology hub in Texas, and that we're fighting with the Google and the Amazon, the Dell, and we can't pay people the same as the private sector. And there's other things that we've got to look at when we're trying to recruit. But we've really had to spin things on its head and rethink how we go about recruiting and what does that look like. I've got folks who are getting close to retirement, and as usually a lot of times this modernization effort may push some folks to decide to retire, because I know folks, you get to a certain point, you're like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to go through another change. And I totally get that. And so I probably will, as we move on this journey, I'll probably lose some of my long-term staff because they're done. They don't want to go through another change. And I don't blame them. But I think hopefully that it will be an opportunity to bring in some folks who do want to learn and grow and go through a change. And my magic wand, hopefully that will be a selling point. For us too, at the DMV, we're fortunate in that we've got a leadership that really support remote work, more so than even some of the other state agencies. I know a lot of the agencies, they're requiring folks to come back at least 1, 2, some even 3 times a week. And right now, I still have the vast majority of my staff telecommuting full time. And we don't have plans to change that. I'm advertising jobs as full-time telecommuting. I'm looking for folks anywhere in the state of Texas, not just in Austin. And I do have a few people that are living in other cities. And that has helped a little bit. It's helped me truthfully win some folks from other state agencies because there are folks that still want to do the full-time telecommuting. And that presents its own set of challenges. And one of the things I'm working on with my leadership team is developing a strategy around how we create opportunities to bring folks back in, and not on a weekly basis, maybe once a month or once a quarter. We're still trying to think about it. One of the things that we did, we're short on space. And so we figured some things to create some storage areas. So even if we wanted to bring all the staff back for a meeting we wouldn't have enough space for them to all be in the office one day. So we're rethinking and trying to get creative on how we create opportunities and continue to maintain our culture. But the magic wand, I would say, is really, I think that the key thing, and this is something that I've talked to a lot with other CIOs, is we've got to be realistic about salaries across the board. And the reality is that we're just not competitive at all. And I think it's going to take some collaboration amongst all the agencies and with DIR to communicate that and try to get these salary schedules up. One of the things I've been doing really is doing some research and studies and trying to bring my salaries up to at least make sure that I'm competing with the other state agencies. I had some instances where we were some of the lowest paying, we were at the bottom. And so I've really worked to bring salaries up, at least to compete with the other state agencies. But I think long term, if I had a magic wand, it would be that the legislature would recognize that technology is a breed of its own, and that for us to be competitive, we're going to have to bring those salary schedules up. It's killing us. I mean, we're trying to, we've got a lot of contractors. We're very dependent on contractors, and we've been trying to flip some of those contractors to FTEs. And the salaries that they're looking for, we're having a hard time finding those funds to pay that kind of money. And it's a classification and a salary range that it'll fit into. So it's a continual challenge, and it's every state agency is experiencing it.
Yeah. At the live podcast event, I had the Commodore Corey Wilburn, my guy. He said he could win somebody over. Yeah, he said he could win someone over 9 out of 10 times. But he just the same thing. He's getting destroyed on the salary front. I think everyone is suffering from it. I think it's going to take some really creative thinking. And someone has this problem. And when everyone has the same problem, this is like where it's time to go on a walk and figure out, all right, how could we think about this in a different way? I don't have an all-encompassing solution. I have my own perspective and thoughts, which, I think the remote work is huge. It's a little bit different depending on how junior you want to get, because some kids need to sit next to an adult when they come right out of college. This is me.
Folks that do come into the office. We do have that. And if there's performance issues or a need, we do have occasion where we do have folks that are working in the office more, for sure. But yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah. I think that one of the solutions I love, so one of the things I love is actually entrepreneurship I'm big. And I never talk about it on TechTables because it just doesn't fit, nor do I talk about it anywhere else. But as an entrepreneur, I love entrepreneurship. I actually have some friends that I've encouraged and said, hey, I know X company is going to pay you X dollars. You should go open up your own LLC. There's a number of benefits of having your own company, have that company employ you. And it's actually a lot cheaper for someone like yourself. So I don't know if you have some savvy folks in Texas, but then you're not having to pay health insurance and all these other things. And then you leave it on the entrepreneur to go figure out. And it takes a little extra work, but you can figure out the system. And I think whenever there's a problem, my answer is entrepreneurship is the solution. I don't know. It would be fun to have a Texas, I'm sure the Texas Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure there's some really bright people there that have some creative ideas. It would be super fun to spitball around to see, hey, how can Texas fix the hiring challenge? You talk about out of the box thinking. How can we fix some of this out of the box thinking where we can start winning talent? But I think there's some creative solutions out there.
Yeah, I think there actually is a scenario where that is possible in Texas, to have some kind of job sharing between agencies. I've seen that happen before. But yeah, I think when it's a problem that everybody has, I think it's a problem for everybody to solve. And we actually, we do have, although we haven't met in a little while, I need to ping the group and see if we're going to meet at some point. But we did have a working group that was having some conversations around the hiring challenges and, you know, what are some solutions and how can we work together, bring attention and find some workable solutions.
I love that. Quote of the day. You said something like, the problem everybody has is a problem for all of us to solve. I love that so much. That is a fantastic quote.
Thank you.
That's great. Oh, that's just the community piece, right? People are coming together. Everyone has the same problem. Let's just start throwing out a million ideas and seeing what sticks on the whiteboard. Okay, this is great. I love it. I know we're running out of time. Where's your favorite spot to hang out at? Where can people find you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Where do you prefer to hang out professionally on?
And I don't even have a Twitter account,
LinkedIn.
believe it or not.
You can find Wendy on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Good deal.
Well, thank you, Wendy, for coming on TechTables. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great. I enjoyed it.